All right, we're live. Tuesday Night Live, Eastern Outdoors Media here. I already got some people tuning in. I'm going to wait till it pops up here on my Facebook so I can share it. Mike Collins, Alan Probst. Did you say the B in there? Probst.
Yeah, Probst. Yeah.
There you go.
When I was playing baseball there for 10 years, boy, that name was butchered.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Probst, Probst.
Now,
Very seldom does anybody ever get it right.
now
What?
Josh was telling me because you met my brother Josh at the
Mm-hmm.
Paducah Expo. He was
Yep.
telling me he played for the Astros and the Mets.
I played, the Astros drafted me, and I played 10 years in the minor leagues. I've spent basically most of my last 6 years in AAA. I mean, I was
Yeah.
a catcher, so there's very few spots, and just nobody. It's just one of those things where didn't happen right at the final echelon. But I was Mets. You got Mike Piazza, probably the best hitting catcher of all time.
There you
I
go.
was
Yeah.
with the Astros, and you probably got the best defensive catcher of all time in Brad Ausmus. So I was in AAA, but it was a great life for 10 years. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's not easy either. All the traveling and
That's the toughest thing, the travel.
um, when you're bouncing around AAA and waiting on that call, I guess it's can get kind of taxing.
And I was one of them guys in my own head. Uh, waiting for the call to the big leagues. Obviously, you kind of need an injury. There's only two catchers in the big leagues. There's only two catchers in AAA. So really,
Right, right.
at that level in the world, there's only about 120 of us that are actually playing out of everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it comes down to injuries and stuff, and you don't want to wish somebody to get injured, so you get your opportunity, but you got to be ready. But I was, always in my own mind thinking, well, if I have a bad game, how I might lose my job tomorrow.
yeah, yeah.
You play your own tricks in your head when you're at that, you know, position at that level. So
Oh
Heck
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When everybody's good, there's no bad players up there. Let's see, we got a lot of people here. Jamie Blakely says, "Hey, Alan, how you doing?"
hey,
Brent,
Jamie, how are you,
Jimmy
buddy?
here. Dwayne's from Moorhead, Tim Fannin. We got a couple people. I shared this on our YouTube channel too, just because I thought people right now might be Googling or YouTube and trapping videos and uh, whatnot. So I've got people join us from
Actually, I
there.
believe
Pete
I
Day's
believe
here.
you mentioned Jamie there. I believe he gets congratulations. I think he said or posted something where he caught his 10th or something coyote the other day, and he had a couple pictures. It was nice. So congrats on that,
Yeah,
Jamie.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's that time of year. I just saw actually the subdivision that I don't live in it. I live out right outside of it. Somebody posted in there and said, "Hey, I just saw two coyotes in my backyard. Make sure you put your pets away." I was like, "Hey, if you want to know how to get rid of them, you can just join us live tonight."
Exactly. They
Uh,
better be ready to put the work in, though. There's a little
oh
bit of
yeah,
work that goes into it.
yeah. Well, there's a huge farm behind the subdivision. They're just coming in, so we got a lot of people here watching. We got about 30 right now, a little over 30. But Al, I don't know if you've ever used the platform we're using, but you can see some of the comments, and I'll throw those up as we go.
All right.
There's my old Josh right there, my brother.
Josh, how are
Hey,
you,
what's going
Josh?
on? Bub is sad that Tom Brady has retired. I can say I'm sad too. Well, you're from Pennsylvania. Big Ben's out too, so
You know what?
end of an era.
I was never a Big Ben fan, but
Well,
Brady. I don't think anybody can argue that that's pretty much the goat.
oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. Even Mike
you
has to
know,
admit that, and he
Yep.
can't
yeah.
stand the guy.
I mean, you take a guy, and the really interesting thing, I was sitting here with my friend Mark Corey, who's doing camera work and stuff for me now, and he's over here helping me get stuff ready for the Harrisburg show. We'll be in Harrisburg at the NRA show for 9 days, starting on
Oh,
Friday.
nice. Yeah.
But the stat that impressed me the most is Stephen Smith, and somebody was talking on ESPN, and he only had one season in 22 years where he didn't win over 10 games.
That's crazy.
That's pretty impressive in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think Gordy here's from Ohio. He's talking about Joe Burrow, and Joe is good, and I like watching him. But I
he's
don't think he's
impressive.
going to catch Brady.
I don't think anybody's going to catch Brady. not in our lifetime. I mean, 50 years from now, who knows? It'll probably be like a field of $6 million men from a bunch of Steve Austins out there running because they're all biometrically created.
Enhanced.
But I don't think any human form is going to be able to touch that, especially with the speed of the game that it is right now.
Oh yeah, it's fun, man. The last few weekends has been good. So Alan, when like I said, Josh met you at the Paducah Expo. I don't remember who it was, but someone said, "Hey, if you've not met Alan from North American Trapper, I gotta get you over there and introduce you guys." So you've already said you played, Major League Baseball in the minor leagues, Mets and Astros, and then one day you just decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start trapping, make that my career. So tell us about making that decision. And I mean, that has to be pretty tough. Major League Baseball is hard, but trapping can suck sometimes.
Well, quite honestly, the fever for the trapping was created in me at 7 years old.
Nice.
My father, my grandfather, my uncles, my cousins, the whole family hunted trapped fish. That's all we did. I grew up in a small town, Ames, Pennsylvania. There's 1,000 people. I mean, there ain't nothing else to do there. I mean, it's either you go to the barbecue, the Dairy Queen, or you go out and try and shoot chipmunks. And that starts at a very early age. But back in the 70s when I was growing up, mid to late 70s, a trapper was looked at in high regard. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but a trapper was somebody that was respected, somebody who really was an outdoorsman. Then you had Grizzly Adams, the TV show, and then you had the movies Mountain Men, and you had the other movie Jeremiah Johnson. So I just fell in love with it. And my father took me, and I was 7 years old. I caught my first muskrat through the ice, and there's a really faded old picture of it. I believe it's on Facebook at some place, but I caught the fever, and I've been trapping ever since. I can remember stealing a couple traps out of my dad's shed when I found a couple muskrats down a ditch, set it, coming up, riding my little two-wheel bicycle with a ratty chain swinging as people were driving by. So that's always been a passion of mine. Even when I played baseball in the off season, I was living in Orlando, Florida, and I would come home. Muskrat season always started on Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would trap Thanksgiving Day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, pool Sunday. And then our deer season started that Monday, the Monday after. Now it starts Saturday, but it started the Monday after we got off school. And I don't know if they do that in Kentucky, but that was kind of a national holiday in Pennsylvania, the first day of deer season.
Not anymore.
So we've, through my whole life, have always done that and always been able to enjoy that. And through baseball, I still did it. I only missed 1, maybe 2 years that I didn't come back and do that.
Yeah.
And I got done with baseball. My whole body broke down. My shoulder, my elbow, my heart, not heart mentally wise, actually physically, my heart, AFib and things like that. Third knee operation, torn ACL. So my whole career was done. I'm 31 years old. So I started an eBay business. Believe it or not, I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit at heart too. And I was buying distressed merchandise by the tractor trailer load and singularly listing, taking pictures, listing. I'd have 500 to 1,000 auctions going on eBay at any time.
Yeah.
And in 2002, I had about 350,000 in sales. And I was providing for myself. And then I started having more heart issues. So then I ended up finding out I had cardiomyopathy and the AFib by not taking medicine had kind of physically debilitated me. And the doctor's like, well, you can go on SSI. And me mentally, I'm not doing that. So I said, put me on the medicine. The NRA convention, long story short, the NRA convention was in Orlando, Florida, at the Orange County Convention Center in May of that year, in 2003. And I went. I said, I'm going down. I heard it on the radio. So I go down, and the Outdoor Channel has a booth there. They were the only TV channel at that time.
Yeah.
Except unless TNN was there. The TNN was like 3 or 4 really big people. You had, I think, Tom Miranda Outdoors, Real Tree, Mossy Oak, and maybe one other one.
Yeah.
So I started talking to a guy named Chris Chafin, who's on Facebook, and I'm still in touch with him. He was kind of a programming director or something for the channel. I said, hey, I like to trap. You don't have any trapping shows? I'd like to do a trapping show. He's like, well, yeah, that would be great. Well, I was obviously green, very green at the time.
Oh, yeah.
There's no money in trapping, for one thing. There's no money in the trapping industry as far as businesses is another. And I made the decision that day. I called my dad that night, and I said, Dad, come back to Pennsylvania. And he's like, what are you coming up for? Like to visit.
Right.
I said,
right.
no, I'm moving back. And he said, what are you going to do for work? I said, I'm going to do outdoor videos. And he's like, how the hell are you going to make money doing outdoor videos? I said, I got no idea. I'm going to figure it out. So for 2 months, I studied the cameras I need. I made some contacts with Bill Duke. I got to give a shout out to Duke Traps, Bill Duke. I called him on the phone once. I said what I wanted to do. He said, send me a proposal. I sent him a proposal. It was outlined, and they gave me some money up front to get started. And without them showing probably some faith in me and understanding that I was going to do this, I wouldn't be where I'm at. But long story short, the Nra Convention, moved back to Pennsylvania, begged the guy at Gander Mountain to give me a job for $5.75 an hour, learned the retail side, and traveled for 4 or 5 months, and came out with 6 DVDs in the spring of 2004. And here we are almost 20 years later. TV shows and 40 different DVDs. And I enjoy it as much today, if not more, than I did back then.
And you were in the game early. I mean, people now are making videos left and right.
I was the
here's
first.
the thing. Yeah, you were doing it before you could just use your phone and make a video and put it on YouTube. So that's
I was the first to make a commitment. I wasn't the first. Tom Miranda had some DVDs with Furnfish Game in the late 80s. The NTA had a couple that come out. There's a guy named Charles Dobbins that had one out, or a couple. He's a Hall of Fame trapper. Actually, Charles Dobbins is a Hall of Fame. He's in the NTA Hall of Fame, the National Trappers Hall of Fame. There were a few DVDs out there, and I kind of threw everything out at once. Nobody knew who I was, and I took a lot of heat for that. I still take some heat for that today. I think people don't respect the passion. Really, I think that's what it comes down to sometimes. They don't respect the passion that I have for this and the innate central being of why I do things. I've never, and I'll tell you right now, and everybody that knows me closely knows I've never done anything for money, ever.
Yeah.
Money does not drive me. Success drives me, but the results do bring revenue sometimes, but money does not drive me. The passion for the outdoors and the passion for teaching people how they can be successful on their own is exactly what drives me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right now we ended in Kentucky deer season 2 weeks ago, roughly. So now we're in that time where people are like, well, what am I going to do with myself on a Saturday or Sunday? Or what am I going to do during the week? And trapping, Mike and I and us at Eastern Outdoors, we've been saying, I think I even said this last week before, we were going to make hats that said, the red hats, the Trump hats, but we were going to say make trapping great again, right? Because no one's doing it.
Maybe you better trademark that. Somebody's going to steal that.
So
I'm having time to steal, but somebody's going to steal it. You better trademark that.
But we here's the thing that we found out: just there aren't many people doing it.
No,
and the ones who are or have been doing it a long time and they're really good at it, but the ones who are wanting to do it, it's kind of, it's not as easy as just practicing with your bow and going out and hunting for the first time. Like, what would you say to these guys that are maybe experienced outdoorsmen, but they're wanting to get into trapping and they're just kind of lost, don't know where to start?
Don't do it for money. I've never trapped for money. Now, I'm not a longliner, and I don't look to make my living from going out and catching fur bears.
Right.
But But in this day and age, and I know there's probably people that are watching this right now that are probably going to lose their mind when I say this, but I don't think the fur market will ever come back. Me personally, I have no basis on that. I'm not a fur market guy. I have no basis other than my personal beliefs to say that, but I do not see a boom in the fur market like we saw in the 70s, or a gray fox or a red fox or a coon even was $50 in the 70s. A red fox $70. Think of that in today's money. That's $250.
Yeah.
And gas was 40 cents a gallon or 25 cents a gallon. So the value of a fur back then is way exceeding what we can ever attain today. I don't ever see that. Now, the one thing that I'm trying to impress on people is you can do a couple things by trapping now. One, it extends your hunting season. So you're not sitting inside on the couch. You're not, just sitting around wondering, well, fishing season will be here in a couple months. You can extend your hunting season by going out there and trapping. Now, to me, there's nothing greater or cooler than getting an animal to step in that circle right there.
That's awesome.
They 360 degrees, and you are luring them in and getting them to step where you think they're going to step, because you're putting that trap where you think that's a challenge. Yeah. It's not undoable. Anybody can do this. I don't want to make it sound like it's too hard. But if you do a couple things correctly, bed your trap properly, have it staked correctly, have the right size trap for the animal you're going after, you actually are going one-on-one with nature. And I love that one-on-one with nature. Now, it extends your hunting season, but you're also helping your ground nesting birds. You take as many coons, possums, and skunks out of the equation. You're not going to hurt those populations. But what you can do is get enough of them out of the population that you can help your ground nesting birds, your turkeys. You can help your geese. You can help your ducks. You can help your pheasant. You can help anywhere across the country. You can take some of these nest raiders out of the equation and actually get that pressure off of them, those ground nesting birds. So if you get a turkey that can get its hatch to poults and get them a couple weeks up in a tree, you now have a chance.
Yeah.
And it's been proven. They've done studies in Texas, Missouri, South Dakota, Wisconsin, all over the place. The raccoon is the number one marauder. You're talking about 70% of the nests are going to be attacked by the raccoons. That's your nest robber. Then you're going to have your skunks, your gray fox, your possum, all these different ones. But when they find a nest, it's gone. Each one of those nest raiders is average 1.5 to 2 nests per brooding season. So you figure that out. That each coon you take out of the population has a chance of, if it's only turkeys they're hitting, saves you 15 to 20, maybe 30 poults. That's a big thing. So you're helping the environment, and you're also extending your hunting season.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Now, when you're trapping, have you yourself seen kind of a difference in populations in those situations where you trap?
Absolutely. Now, I have no data for this because it's not anything.
It's observation.
Just observation.
It's observation. We do see that. Prime example. I'm sure you know who Cuz Strickland is. I'm not name dropping here,
right?
Cuz is a really good friend of mine.
You can name drop. It's fine.
Well, he asked me to come down and teach his grandsons how to trap raccoons and nest raiders because they're not seeing any turkeys on their property. So we went down there, and I thought Cranky and Matt, they're just two of the coolest rednecks you'll ever meet in your life. They are just awesome. They took to it. I would hear from Cuz and their mom, Lauren, and I would get a text every day. They can't wait to get home from school. They're checking their traps. They pounded them after I left. Yeah. They caught like 30-some raccoons and possums and skunks. They took Cuz actually took some coyotes and bobcats out of the property, and Cuz owns, I don't know, 700-800 acres, and they have not seen turkeys in years. This year they're seeing turkeys, and they're actually getting a population now. The best example of somebody doing this and really proving it somebody that I'm aware of is the guy that does the deer TV, Dr. Grant Woods.
Yep.
Oh,
Dr.
yeah. We're
Grant,
big fans.
Dr. Grant Woods has really created a utopia for his deer and his turkeys on his property. He calls it, I believe, the proving grounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you're right.
And trapping is an integral part of what he's doing to alleviate that pressure off of not just the ground nesting birds, but the deer by taking the coyotes and stuff out. And he has actually shown that it works. And it's starting to catch on because South Dakota has instituted the predation program in the spring, right before the pheasants lay their eggs. You know, the pheasant hunting in South Dakota is their third highest money maker, besides Rushmore and Sturgis. That pheasant hunting economy is huge. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's just shy of 100 million into the state. And
they're probably one of the only states that can do that. Pheasants are so scarce nowadays.
I haven't seen a natural, I call it natural pheasant, wild, whatever. I haven't seen a natural pheasant in Pennsylvania, I bet you, in 30 years. I haven't seen a grouse. I think I saw my first grouse this year, which surprised the hell out of me. I saw my first grouse in probably 20 years. And that was in big woods where there's no coons, there's no possums, there's no skunks in big woods. So anytime that you can go out there, whether you have a 10-acre parcel, 50-acre parcel, 500-acre parcel, it doesn't matter. Trapping allows you to go out, extend your hunting season, take these nest raiders out of the equation. You also get some value out of it. The fur market's not dead. Don't get me wrong. There still is a fur market, and there's a lot of different things you can do with fur. They make great gifts. They make great home decor, great camp decor. So you get them tanned, it's like a memory. But you can do all those different things and actually have a lot of fun while you're out there and help all of those things in the process.
Now I've seen, with, folks like Meat Eater and Steve Ranella, and then some, we had a guy that sends us some trapping content. He trapped a big beaver the other day and cooked it up in a crock pot. I mean, these are also probably outside of a coyote. I mean, some of these are good table fare as well. What's your favorite animal that you trap?
Beaver's good table fare. There's actually a market for raccoon in the South. There's guys that sell them. They skin them out, gut them, cut the tail off, and they're $10 a piece. There's a market for that down there. Now, the best if it comes to that, for me, yes, I can deal with that, but I like cheeseburgers too much. I'm not going to be cooking beaver in a crock pot, but I will say this. Bobcat's probably my favorite. Bobcat is
I've been telling people that because
Bobcat's pretty tasty.
We have a guy, John Collins, who has Tooth and Claw TV. Don't know if you're familiar with him. He works for Fox Pro Game Calls, and he told me Bobcat was excellent. And I've been
is great.
Telling people, hey, I've never had it, but I've heard it's great, and they just don't believe me. They just don't. I'm not eating cat.
Believe it or not, it's like a white meat. It's I would put it kind of a cross between chicken and pork.
Hey, I'm a fan right there.
It's got the consistency just shy of the hardness of pork, and the taste, down in that middle chicken pork range. It's really good. It actually is. I had it when I was in Kansas. First time I ever had it was in Kansas, probably 2003, 2004.
Yeah, we got some guys watching that like to cook up some wild game, and so I think that that's another part that maybe interests some people. Our buddy PK was on here, and he had some kind of fish recipe on his Facebook today that I wouldn't touch. So I don't know. Did you see that one, Mike? PK's fish. He looked like he was eating shiners. I don't know about that one, PK. So Eddie's on here. Eddie's a big bass fisherman, tournament fisherman, but he says snares is a great economical way to get into trapping if you're a beginner.
That is true. Here in Pennsylvania,
what makes that true?
Well, they're just very easy to say. You carry 50 of them in a 5-gallon bucket,
Oh, okay.
and you can buy a dozen snares for probably, depending on where you're at and what you're trying to catch, less than $20, $30.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now you're going to need a couple things to go with that, some supports and things like that. But for
Yeah.
less than $100, you're going to set yourself up pretty good. Here in Pennsylvania, we're not allowed to snare.
Gotcha.
We are able to cable restraint, which has a relaxing lock, a deer stop. The animal's alive when you get there. Snaring does not have a relaxing lock most times. It's usually done in states like, well, Tennessee, it's allowed. It's allowed in the western states, but Pennsylvania, we are only allowed to use a cable restraint, which is different than a snare for those different nuances. They both work. They both will hold animals. It's just that
Yeah.
when we go check them in here in PA, that animal's alive.
Yeah.
You can't have any like they call it entanglements here in Pennsylvania. So if you have a stick that's any bigger than a quarter of an inch or whatever, that would be considered an entanglement, where an animal would get caught around it and then get choked out or something like that and die.
Yeah.
Which is legal in other states. It's mostly to do with dog hunting. Guys don't want their dogs running for rabbits and stuff, running into a snare, quick lock before they can get to it, which I understand to a certain extent. But on private land, I see other variables with that. But here in Pennsylvania, we can only use cable restraints. But cable restraints and snares, either or, I call them cables. They both work and are very efficient and very inexpensive and a lot easier to use and set than pounding in a Duke 550 or something, digging a bed and all the different things that go into that.
So here's a success story here. Austin says he's just started trapping this year on his 42 acres. He's in southeastern Kentucky, so he's in the mountains. He's caught 10 coons, a possum, 2 yotes on his probably. That's a pretty good start, I think.
That's an unbelievable start. Seriously, that's fantastic. And that's what I try to tell everybody. If you have the gumption or the ability to go out there and put some traps in the ground, you're going to catch some stuff. You're going to catch some fur. You're going to help take some of those nest raiders out of the equation. It's not hard if you do a couple things correctly. And everybody's going to want to try and sell you a secret. There's no secrets. The only secret that I think, there's a couple different things that I recommend people do, but the only secret in my mind is hard work. If you are putting traps in the ground and you're willing to put the effort and you put the hard work into it, you're going to have success. And you're going to learn more on your own from watching what happens at your sets than any book or DVD you're ever going to see. I learned more.
No doubt.
I found a mink track in fresh snow, and it was a wet snow, so you could track it. And I followed that mink. This is back when I was in high school. I just got my driver's license, and I was down on Annis Creek by the Susquehanna River where I grew up. And I found a mink track, fresh track, and I followed that mink for about probably 200 yards till I lost him when he went in the creek and lost it. I learned more in that 200 yards than any book or DVD combined I've ever read or watched, because you could see, well, he ducked in that hole and he went under that root and he went in the water there, but he didn't duck in that hole and he didn't go under that root. Well, why? Well, okay, well, the bank didn't come out there. And you just learn so much. And that's one of the really good things that you have too, probably. Not as much as we do, probably, but that snow is a blanket of information.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a deer hunter, a coyote trapper, a fox trapper, snow will, a rabbit hunter. It doesn't matter. Snow gives you so much information if you're just looking for it when you're out there in the woods.
Yeah. We've had a lot of snow so far. So go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, that's funny you mentioned that. I rabbit hunted on Sunday morning and with my cousins, and we had a nice snow still down on the farm, and we started finding rabbit tracks. And as soon as we did, we started hitting some of those edges. Some of the sun was shining on some of the edges. of a clover field, kind of in some brush. We started hitting those, started jumping them immediately.
Exactly. And you know what? If you don't have a snow there, you probably walk right by that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So using that snow, and that's one of the things, I know we're talking about trapping and different things, but deer hunters, any deer hunter out there, if you have snow, don't sit on your couch in the middle of February. By the middle of February, those deer are back to their natural patterns, okay? The pressure's off. Nobody's in the woods. You're probably not even going to see another human track. Right. Go out there, take a walk for 4 or 5 hours. You're going to see where the trails intersect. You're going to see where 3 trails come together. Well, if you find where 3 or 4 trails come together, you find the wind direction. Well, shit, that's right where I want my stand, right there.
Yep. There you go.
You can set yourself up for success the following year by just taking 3-4 hours on a Sunday afternoon in the mid to late February, and you've got other tracks, coyote, fox, all those different things. It's going to tell you everything that's in the area, and it's going to tell you their natural patterns at that time of year as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. So
best trap for beginners of 550.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
Throw it up. 550. 550 Duke is what I use exclusively. The 650 is good. A lot of people like that out west. I trap in Pennsylvania and other states, 8 different states. I think I'll be in 8 states last year. I'll be in 7 this year. Some states allow the 550, some don't allow the 650 because of the size difference. So I just go with a straight 550. I make the same set every time. The 550 is, to me, with that night latch, it clicks. You have a straight pan. It's level. You bed it in the ground. You bed it properly. It's got the big cast jaws. And you're able to put a lot of pressure on that. You want your pan tension about 3.5 pounds, which is about right where it's out of the box. The Duke 550 is top shelf, and that's what I would recommend. And I don't just say that because I have a relationship with Duke. I say that because I truly believe that's literally, to me, that's the best coyote trap on the market.
Yeah. So Chris here said they have a lot of hound hunters at the house, so he's not crazy about snares. He's lost me here. This is trapper talk here. I don't like
bucket set's going to be a conibear that you cut some little notches in a 5-gallon bucket or more like a square bucket, the 4-gallon I think they are, and you push that in, and then that holds that set. And if a dog does put his head in there, he's going to probably be dead before the owner can get to him. And you really don't want to put those traps anywhere you think that and that's one of the things. I'm going to mention this real quick, and I won't get long with it. That's one of the things about being a trapper. You have to be a steward of trapping. Yes, you want to be successful, and yes, you want to be able to put your barn picture up with all the furs and look at me, I'm that great, trapper. Right. But you have to, in this day and age, you have to be a steward, not only of yourself, but you got to be a steward of trapping. You got to understand that everybody, even people within this community, are against this. You got people, dog hunters, and not all dog hunters. A lot of dog hunters trap. But there are dog hunters that don't like trappers because of these things where their dog can get caught and killed. And, we've all had dogs or have dogs. Man, that ain't cool. So you have to be a steward of yourself, but you really have to be a steward of trapping and really think when you're putting a set in, what can I catch here? Can I catch the farmer's dog? Is it close enough? So yes, I don't like bucket sets unless there's a lot of people who make buckets. I've been with, I filmed Mike Gursky on a Canadian trapline adventure. But one of my first filming things and first DVDs was Mike Gursky's Canadian trapline adventure in Northern Ontario. He ran 2 lines, one he called the town line, one he called the north line. We were driving 2.5 hours straight north of Thunder Bay. Middle of nowhere. Dude, you can put as many conibears on land there and you aren't catching any dogs. Yeah. And he was catching lynx and marten and fisher and otter. It was one of the best, to me personally, it's one of the best DVDs I've ever produced because I had so much cool content. and lynx is like my favorite animal. It's the best fur ever. But when you're trapping in eastern Kentucky on a patch of 40 acres, and you got another farm 40 acres and another farm 40 acres, and they all have dogs running loose. I was just in Illinois. I had to release, dogs, like
Yeah.
regular dogs, or Missouri. Sorry, dogs.
Pets.
You don't
yeah.
catch dogs in Pennsylvania. No, people leave them on a leash usually here, but out there, there's just wild dogs running everywhere. I just couldn't believe the amount of dogs. But you got to be, you really it just goes back to you got to be a steward of trapping,
Yeah.
steward of yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice.
So for me, if I start trapping, I'm probably going to have to start on public land, because the only private land I hunt is just too far away to go there every day. So the closest public land, though, gets a lot of rabbit hunters. So what would I want to use? I know there's a ton of coyotes on that public land, tons of turkeys. So you want to try to target raccoons, whatever. But so what would I start with?
Well, the
To
first
be
thing
safe for the rabbit hunters, but
I know exactly what you're asking. The first thing when I get asked that question actually more than you think. The first thing I recommend in that instance is, if you can, trap Monday through Friday, because the weekend warriors are out there with their dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you set Monday through Friday, hell, you can just knock your trap off, bury it a little bit. It's not going to catch anything, and they're not going to steal it.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, it keeps you away from the weekend warriors, if your job and your lifestyle allows you to do that. If it doesn't, put it in, put your trap placement and your set placement in areas that they're not going to be hunting rabbits. Maybe where a bridge goes under, things of that nature. That's a hard question, because you don't want to catch, because not only are you going to catch the dog, they're going to get the dog out, but they're going to steal your trap more often than not.
Yeah, they're not going to be happy.
They're not going to be happy. They're going to steal your trap. Then they have your trap tag with your address and license, because you had to have it on there, and who knows what's going to happen. You're not doing anything illegal, though, so you're not going to get in trouble. But it's better to stay away from those situations than to put yourself in those situations. I recommend, if you can, trap during the week. You solve probably 90% of your other issues with that. But if you are going to trap and you can only be a weekend warrior because of the job, put your traps where you know that guys and the public is not going to see them if you catch something. Great opportunity is set the middle two. If you're on a dirt road, a two trap, put your traps right in, bed them in the middle of. I put traps in two tracks and I drive over them. I know I ain't got nothing, but I'm looking. I can't even see the damn things, and I know they're there. So put them in the middle of the two track and put them on a drag. If you catch an animal, he's going to drag it in the woods. They're going to drive right by and never know that he was there.
Yeah.
So you can use drags to get off the public roadways as well. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're going to go out there and set on public land.
Yeah, because I know there are guys who don't necessarily have the land themselves to trap, and so I think public land. We have so much public land in Kentucky. Almost everyone is within driving distance, and I think it'd be a good start. Even if, like you said, if you could go Wednesday through Thursday.
Yep.
And just knock it off Wednesday through Friday, knock it off, come back the next Wednesday, and take them home, biggest, come back, whatever.
I agree. It comes down to time. I will say this: I don't want people to get the wrong impression on predator trapping. Yes, you can go do that with coons and possums and skunks and those type of animals, and you'll catch a fox or two the first night. But really, quite honestly, when I'm going after coyotes and specifically trapping coyotes, I want to be able to have my traps in the ground, untouched, undisturbed, leave them alone for 7 to 10 days. There's been I can't even count how many times you just put a coyote set in. You can, if it's snow or soft dirt, and you can see where they come up, and they don't even work. You can see where they turn.
Yeah,
keep walking by, but 2-3 days later, he's coming back. And the couple mistakes that I think beginner trappers make too much of is they see a coyote do that and they think they did something wrong. They need to relure. They need to rebait. They need to readjust. No. The best thing you can do at that point is stay in your truck and keep driving, because that animal knows that set's there. He didn't like something or just wasn't willing to work it at that point. But trapping is patience, and you really need patience to be a successful predator trapper. And when I say predator, I mean coyote. Bobcat are the easiest animal to catch in the world. You can catch them in a bear trap. If you're on target in their house, I call it in their house. If you're in their general range, you'll catch them the first night, second night. But coyote are a different breed. They're not hard to catch, but there are little nuances and things that you really have to pay attention to. And the biggest thing is patience. Don't put yourself in a position to not have success by not having patience and, oh, I did something wrong. I need to relure. I need to add more bait. No. The best thing you can do is let some of that scent dissipate. And the analogy that I use is if we've all been there. Hell, some of us might even been that guy at the time.
Yeah.
When you going out, you're in college and going out on the town, you get that guy jumps in the car and he's got like a half a bottle of cologne on. I'm not offended by anything, but you're like, man, what are you doing wearing the whole bottle? Well, that could be what a lure does to a canine with, humans have 3-4 million nodules and sensors in their nose. Canine has 30 to 40 million. They're smelling a lot more intensely and they're smelling a lot more smells than we are. So understand that he knows it's there. He's intrigued because he turned a little bit. So drive by it, leave it alone, and I think that point or that tip will help anybody out there be more successful as their trapping career progresses or whatever.
Talking to guys who hunt coyotes, they always talk about how they're the smartest animal we have. You just once they're fooled or something, they're not coming back. So if you mess with that too much, you're just gonna lose them altogether, I guess.
Exactly. Leave it alone, have patience, and you'll be successful.
Yeah.
For a coyote set, what are some of the things you like to look for? What are some of the little things that you do? Do you wear gloves? How much? What scent do you use? How much scent do you use? How do you know?
Wow, that's a multi-tier question.
Break it down.
No, that's fine. I'll break it down for you. I don't think that you could put yourself in a hazmat suit and go make a set and the coyote not know you were there. That's number one. Right. So with that being said, I don't worry about human scent. I wear gloves. My hands are dry and cracked right now because I've been in Illinois in that 5-degree weather for a week.
Yeah.
Then I went to Missouri and trapped, and that was colder out there too. It's like a whole polar vortex the whole month I was out there. But I wear gloves just for the mere fact of keeping my hands somewhat working. When it comes to scent, I don't worry about scent. You've probably noticed I got the nasty habit of dipping. I'm spitting all over my scent. I spit. It goes as far as I can go, 3 feet. I don't care. I don't worry about it. I look at scent when it comes to a canine as all relative. What you have in that hole is piquing their interest. That's where the food base is. That's where the lure is. That's what it is. You've also got the eye appeal of the set that's dug up. You got the eye appeal of the disturbance in the area. I'm a firm believer that you can catch animals without bait and lure for the mere just disturbance that you've created in their house. The analogy I like, the curiosity. The analogy I like to use is if you have a coffee table in your front room and you have the remotes on the left and the magazines on the right, and they're there in that spot for 6 months, and your wife or your house cleaner or whatever moves the remotes to the right and the magazines to the left. As soon as you walk in that room, your unconscious is going to make you stop and go, something's different in here. And you're going to be look around, and then you're going to realize, oh, the remotes are on the right, the magazines are on the left. Oh, you might have had to sit down on the couch to figure that out, whatever. But you've noticed, and you noticed a disturbance. Well, what happens if a coyote runs by that same spot 3 times a week or 2 times a week or once a week,
Yeah.
and that rock is always right there, and he never notices it? But now that rock's 2 feet away, and there's a big hole dug there. Is he going to notice that? Of course he's going to
Yep.
notice that.
Yep.
You're in his home. They know every rock, every tree, every twig, every fallen tree. They know everything. So scent's all relative. If you put your scent, and I put everything in the hole. I don't put my lure over here and squirt urine over here and bait in the hole. I put everything in the hole. If I use bait, it goes in the hole. I like a deep hole because I want them to bury their nose. I want them to get their nose down in there to where they're not worrying about anything else except getting down and they got to work to get to the bottom of that hole. With lure, Johnny Thorpe, I was fortunate enough to film him. I mean, I did all 13 videos. I probably spent over 6 months of my life over a 10-year period at Johnny Thorpe's house, who's another Hall of Fame trapper. And his famous saying is, "A little dab will do you." And that is true. A little dab will do you of lure. So you break off a little stick, you dip it in the lure, you pick it out. I let it drip completely down to where the only scent on that stick is the lure that's adhering to the stick, and that goes in the hole. This time of year, gland lure obviously was going to work great for you. Food lures in the fall, but gland lure is going to work for you this time of year. And then you have the bait, the gland lure, and if you want, take a little, urine, squirt it on the back of the hole, and you got a set that there are very few canines that can't work that set. And they may come and, this is weird, and run away, but the curiosity is going to get them within 2-3 days. They're coming back. And if you got your trap bedded properly and you made a good set that is in good working order, that's going to fire, especially this time of year, wet conditions, snow, this, that, and everything, using wax, dirt, things like that, peat moss, whatever you decide to use. If you have a good working set, you're going to get a crack at them.
So Tim says
what bedded properly, you're going to get them.
So Tim says, what bait are you using for coyotes? Are you using a bait and a lure or just the lure?
I don't always use a lure. North American Trapper, my company, we make bait. It's prairie dog, ground Angus, rendered prairie dog, and fresh prairie dog, ground Angus fresh, and ground poultry. We have 4 different equal parts in that, with some other oils and things like that to blend it and gel it. That's pretty much, since I'm doing my TV show and everything else that goes into that, that's what I've been using. I need to show that it works.
And you guys sell it on your website?
No, we do. We sell it on the website. Okay. Then the lure that we make is called Madness, which has skunk essence in it, but not overpowering skunk essence. It's got coyote gland, it's got beaver castor, and a couple other asafoetida and tonka musk. A few other things that are attractants to pretty much all animals. And I'll use that probably, if I make 10 sets, I'm probably going to use that at 3. Now, when you make a set, if you find a location that you feel is a good location where you have intersecting points or 3 or 4 travel ways and things like that, I may put one with bait and lure and then one with just bait. So, but if you're putting a set in a location, I recommend you put at least 2. Hey, if you're trapping coons and nest raiders and things like that, you can go 3 and 4 because those coons and possums and skunks, they run. Well, it's not so much skunks, but coons especially will run in pairs, 3s and 4s.
Gotcha. So
especially
Jamie here says he has some data there for you, personal data for you. You're leaving the sets alone. So he had a set out for 2.5 weeks with nothing, and then he caught 4 coyotes in 5 days. So there you go.
Yep. Jamie, nice job. And Jamie just proved my point. You got to let your sets work, and it goes back to 7 to 10 days minimum when I'm taking the effort and I'm pounding sets in, and that's a lot of work. Pounding stakes, bedding traps, all these different things. I'm not setting and pulling in 2 days. It just is too much work.
Yeah.
And if you can get 7 to 10 days, now 2.5 weeks, that's some patience right there. So kudos to him on that.
Yeah.
And not only that, he waited 2.5 weeks, then he caught 4 and 5 nights. That's
There you go.
pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a home run right there. So Bub says, have you ever made hay or straw sets?
Not the traditional hay and straw set. Hay and straw, there's a lot of guys that are going to show you out there. They use a whole bunch of hay around. Now, if I have some hay around, I will put some hay there, but I don't make traditional hay set. We do have a clip on YouTube that we just I just caught a double in Missouri at the end of 2 hay bales. It wasn't a hay set,
Yeah.
but I love hay bales. And if you're trapping anywhere that you have hay bales or, even square, round, it doesn't matter. Those animals, that's a focal point, and those animals are going to come in and work for you.
All right. Let's see, Mike, just any more comments? Do you have anything here? I want to go through.
What type of things do you like to use to raccoon trap?
With all our raccoon trapping, most generally we're using the Duke dog proof.
Okay.
That's like taking candy from a baby. It really is. It's like we use our Coonbuster and our magnet trailing scent, and more often than not, that's all we're doing with the Duke dog proof. And
Okay.
they're very easy to set, and you're going to catch pretty much. Well, they not only work for coons, but they also work for possums and skunk.
Okay.
Bigger skunk. Little skunks don't have the long enough arm to get down there sometimes with the tangible fingers, but the skunks, possums, and coons have a hard time staying out of those DPs. Now, if I'm around water, I'm going to set a 1.5 double jaw Duke, which the 1.5 double jaw I like because it's got that double jaw. So I know if an animal steps in that, they're going to be there when I get there the next morning. They can't get under there and work their foot or move around because they're actually caught. A double jaw is going to catch them 1 and 2 places.
Oh, okay.
So it's catching them like a normal straight jaw trap will catch them and hold them in the paw. The double jaw will catch them in the paw and then also catch them high.
Okay.
So it's catching them in 2 spots. So I know that animal is going to be there the next morning. So if you're making any sets for raccoon, possum, or skunk, and it's not a DP, I highly recommend the 1.5 double jaw. I think it's my favorite trap. It would not think it is my favorite trap across the board because I know when an animal steps in there, they're going to be there next morning.
So what's the dog proof? I'm not familiar with that. How does that setup work?
The dog proof is a cylinder. It's about that big around. And about 4.5, 5 inches, probably 4 inch, 4.5 inches high. And that cylinder, there's a trigger that's about maybe an inch up from the bottom. So you put your bait in and you have the animal, they reach down in and they pull up on the trigger and the trap goes off. Now, what's good about them is because it catches them really high because they got their whole arm down in there.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
One, it's easier on the animal. You're not catching them on the foot. You're catching them high on the arm. And they're triple swiveled. They have a base swivel, a mid swivel, and an end chain swivel. So they have 3 swivel points. So they have full rotation. They're not twisting and putting a lot of pressure on their arm. And if you get something to reach down in there and pull that trigger, guaranteed they're going to be there the next morning. Yeah. And it's what we recommend for all beginners. I try and equate it to if you were going to. Well, it is. It's like taking candy from a baby. If you are going to take a kid fishing the first time, what are you going to do? Are you going to take them out on the ocean for tuna? Probably not. You're going to take them with a bobber, a piece of a red worm, and throw it in and catch some bluegills and crappie. You know you're going to have success. You know they're going to be like, this is great. This is awesome. And that's exactly what we recommend when you're taking a kid trapping. At this point in time, get some DPs, get you some bait, put them where the coons are running, and honestly, you're going to catch them, and you're going to catch them from day one.
Is it as simple as just putting? What are you putting back in there? You just putting some corn back in there because that's all the coons eat at my place. Is just eat. They eat
Corn
off
will
of
work.
corn.
Corn works. There's people that use dog food. There's people that use
Yeah.
cat food. There's people who use tuna fish. Or, coons will pretty much be
Anything.
attracted to anything. They're basically scavengers. I mean, they're in
Yeah.
dumpsters and everything. We make our Coonbuster bait. We went a step further. I feel that the cylinder of a DP imitates a crawfish burrow in nature. When you
Yeah.
push that in the ground, it looks like where a crawfish burrowed up. So we
Yeah.
have a bait that has coon and fish pellets or not coon, but fish pellets and corn. And it's also got colorful fare. It's got 3 or 4 different ingredients, but it's also soaked in crawfish oil. So
Yeah.
we feel
It's
that
irresistible.
we feel that with our trailing scent, which is a sweet loganberry, corn oil, blueberry. We feel and we put 100. I put 121 sets in with DPs in 2000 in South Dakota, and 121 sets. 92 coons and 2 checks.
Wow.
With just that.
I see that Billy Barnett. First of all, Eddie says he loves watching your shows. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad people came on to see you.
Well, we definitely appreciate that.
Our buddy Billy Barnett just logged on. I saw Billy. We're glad you're here. He is when he hunts in Nevada this year and kills a turkey, he will have killed a turkey in every state that has them. So 49 states.
That's pretty impressive.
And last year he had a post. He had set up a trail camera. He found a nest with where a hen had laid its eggs, and he put a trail camera on there. And I don't remember the timeline, but it was very soon. I think a raccoon had come by, but a coyote had just ravaged it all.
Yep, and there was also a possum in there because it's funny. It's a small world, dude. It's a very small world, especially in our outdoor community.
Yeah.
Lauren Strickland, cousin's daughter, actually contacted Billy, and Billy's actually going to get credit when we run his pictures.
Oh, nice.
On our show, showing.
Does he know that?
Timeline.
Does Billy know that?
Yeah, Billy knows that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was connecting you guys. So I'm
that's
behind.
Pretty funny. No, that's why it's just a small world.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I actually have. I think there's about 8 or 10 pictures, and he shows the different times that I think the coyotes in 2 of them in 2 different times where harassing the hen. Yeah, just really, really unique footage that we're going to use as a learning tool to teach people how getting these nest raiders and things out of the equation takes a lot of that pressure off of those turkeys.
I think, one reason I wanted to have you on now is because I felt like, in the last year, 2 years, a lot of people have complained about, not seeing as many turkeys on their place. And so I thought if you could speak to that, which you already have, and can you kind of reiterate what you said? If someone starts now and starts trapping raccoons on their own property, maybe not impact this year, but next year they're going to probably see some results of that labor.
Well, there's 2 parts to that. Yes, starting now and having a game plan and going out and taking some of these nest raiders out of the equation is definitely going to help your ground nets and bird populations. Has been proven.
Yeah.
The one thing that we haven't talked about much and we haven't mentioned yet is that this is not a one-time thing, though.
Right.
You can't go out there and trap this fall coming up or this spring and take some of these nest raiders out of the equation and think, well, all is good now.
Yeah.
Now we're good to go. This is an ongoing effort, just like anything else. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. So the more time and the more effort you put into it over an extended period of time. We talked about Grant Woods. Dr. Grant Woods, the Proving Grounds, he has had success there because they've done the same thing year in and year out. They go out and they take these, nest raiders and these animals that are marauding the turkey nests and everything else. They do as much as they can to get them out of the equation. And that's the one thing I want to impress on people. I don't want people to think that this is an end all if you do it one time. This is something that you kind of need to do every year. And the more you do it, and the more you do it every year, and the more nest raiders and things you take out of the equation, the better your turkey populations are going to be. And if you're trapping coyotes and bobcats and things like that, the better your deer fawns are going to have a chance of surviving as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's I think a good way to look at it, just based on what you're saying, is, you know, we have our turkey and deer seasons everybody looks forward to. We just throw this right in there with it. You know, deer season ends, trapping begins. And so,
well, just like I said earlier, it increases your hunting season, extends your hunting season, however you want to say it. Being able to go out there and trap, and like I said, I don't trap for money, and money, I'm not money driven, but just that one-on-one with nature and being able to go out there and be one with nature, or be the steward of your own land, whether that's 10 acres or 20 acres or 50 acres or 100 acres. It just gives you something that you can work on and do year in and year out.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll do it, man. We still got people, really just people thanking you in the comments, you know, talking about how much they enjoy trapping, their kids enjoy trapping. And so this is something that we want to push on our platform, and we want to have more content about, and tell people how they can follow you and find you on Facebook, social media, maybe some events that you have going on.
Real easy. All of our social media, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, it's North American Trapper. 3 words. If you type in North American Trapper, they should come up. If you are in Pennsylvania or you're coming to the NRA show in Harrisburg, which is February 5th through the 13th, we'll be doing daily seminars there, showing people how they can use these methods and become the steward of their own land, getting the opportunity. Great opportunity if you're going to the NWTF convention this year.
We'll be there.
We're definitely looking forward to that, and we'll be speaking a couple different days at the NWTF convention, trying to show turkey hunters how they can do this and how they can go out there and catch a few of these nest raiders and help the turkeys, not just on their property, but the turkey populations overall across the country. I saw one, Alan Morris, I believe, commented earlier. I didn't get a chance to if he's still on there. Hey, Alan, how are you? And Alan's done a real nice job without me even asking. He sent me a lot of information. He's from Missouri. Where they are now understanding, and they're looking at extending the trapping season to allow the nest raiders to be caught longer, closer to that time frame. It's I think it's on the books. They're looking to pass that, hopefully. And so people are getting the information. They're understanding that there are a lot of different variables with this. We didn't even talk about the birds of prey issue. That's another topic for another time. But everything in nature loves a wild turkey. Everything, even us. Think about it. Thanksgiving. Getting bombarded from all sides, and if we can help them at least get those eggs to get hatched, it allows them to possibly increase the population and give more sportsmen and sportswomen the opportunity to go out and chase these animals. And then we have just finishing up, we're at the NRA, the NWTF, and then we have the 3 open season events, which are in Kansas City, Overland Park, Ohio, Columbus, and Wisconsin Dells through the month of March, where we'll be at each event discussing nest raiders and how people can go out there and, like we've said 10 times, become the steward of their own land.
Man, that's great. That's great. Well, Alan, I appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for jumping on here with me. Guys, if you're watching, we appreciate you tuning in. We're here every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. In a couple of weeks, we have a show with some guys from National Deer Association talking about kind of the state of hunting overall. If you've listened to the couple episodes ago, the Meat Eater podcast, when Steve's brother was talking about, we need less hunters. We're going to kind of talk about that in a couple of weeks. So anyway, if you don't follow us, give us a follow. Thanks so much for being here. Alan, Mike, thanks guys. Have a great night.
Nice to meet you, Alan.
Yeah, you too, buddy. It was very nice.